Montreal?
Yes.
Is that where your company is too?
Yes, on St. Lawrence Boulevard, near Schwartz Deli, right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
5 minutes walk from where I live.
Oh, really? Did you start the company?
Yes, I'm a co-founder, president, and the creative director of Penn Digital Games.
Really?
It was founded last year, and we opened up the studio on July 6th this year.
And you came out of there, out of Assassin from there?
No. After Assassin's Creed, I left Ubisoft like 5 years ago now. I'm the very first employee of Ubisoft Montreal back in '97.
How'd you get into this racket? How'd you get into making video games? What did you do before? You go right from school into this?
Yes, I studied in movies, literature, and theater. I never thought I would be making video games for a living whatsoever. And back in '96, I was in between, like I finished my movie studies, and I said, I cannot make movie in school. Yes, you can, you do one or two, but eventually you need to be out there and try to make movies. And so I took a year off, and in the middle of that year, Ubisoft arrived in Montreal. My mother worked at the government, and I knew a bit beforehand that they were coming, so I sent my first email that I actually sent in '96 was for Ubisoft in Paris. I sent my resume. And eventually they called me back, and I had a hard time having an interview because the guy, when he called, he left a message on my answering machine. Back then.
Sure.
So I called him back. And
right after they invented fire.
Exactly, right after.
Like within 45 minutes.
Yeah, and so I called back, and he said, well, Mr. Tascan, he's left. He's not here anymore. I said, what do you mean he's not here? I want to have an interview. And so I took, again, a phone book, and I went in he said he's French, so he's probably in an hotel room. So I went and called all the hotel, but he was at the Sheraton. So, A, B, C, and S. and I hate phone calls, by the way, but I did it. And eventually I had an interview, and I guess I was good. Because I never, I started as a game designer and never done a game in my life, really. Even though, I played, on the old Apple II of my father when I was 6 and did some load runner levels and things like that. And eventually, I played all the classic on the Nintendo and whatnot. And it's always surreal for me. I just wanted to.
So you applied for the job and
got an interview, and then I was good. And I was prepared.
How'd you prepare?
I read all my Next Generation magazine the night before. But really, and studying some words like gameplay and AI and using those words during my interview.
Did you have the idea for Assassin's Creed?
Yes, that's my baby. I'm the father of all the assassins out there.
And what was the idea?
Well, at first they asked me to do the Prince of Persia Next Generation. Prince of Persia.
Oh,
because I was the creative director of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time before that. And when we finished in 2004, they asked me to do the Next Generation, which was PS3 and Xbox 360. And I've been a bad employee, I guess, because instead of giving them just a Prince of Persia, I gave them Assassin's Creed, because I felt like it was more fun to play an assassin than a prince. A prince is not an action role, right? A prince is there to wait until father died. So I just changed the organization from a kingdom. I said, okay, you need to be a number 2 of something else. And so I went with my research and history, and I found out the assassin, the old myth of the old man of the mountain, and said, oh, let's be an assassin instead of a prince.
And you really brought history into the video game a bit, right?
Well, I was not the first one, but I think Assassin's Creed is the one that made history a real subject for video games, yes.
Yeah, and how much accuracy did you want to have?
Well, Assassin, it was all about starting from history and make it credible without being real. But the first one was pretty accurate in the depiction of what the Crusade were back in 1191, if I remember correctly, and even the second one with the Italian Renaissance, where there is a mission in AC2, which is basically the Patsy conspiracy, and the mission is really based on what happened during that day, hour per hour, and we used history as a canvas for the mission. And so, but the one I'm doing right now, called Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey, this time I want to be scientific. as you can be in a video game.
Talk about that one.
Well, ancestors, the humankind, says it all. We're going through time. The first chapter starts 5 million years ago, where our first common ancestors ruled the jungle.
How many hours to play 5 million years?
My scale, it's funny you talk about it because it's part of my personal design research. What is a scale, a proper scale for a video game? These days we're making huge video games and it's about the speed of the main character, which is often a car, right? In GTA and in Assassin was the horse was the highest speed in the game, so you need to make a game world that fits that speed. Now I'm got only one character that goes and walk. It's like, what is small enough to have fun? And it's all about system after that.
My heart just swells with excitement of thinking of my son spending
Hours.
30 hours, 40 hours, 100 hours, really thinking about what it's like to be human 5 million years ago. I think you might be doing a really great thing.
Well, I'm trying.
I mean,
that's for sure. But even with
a successful
Assassin
game, yes, but you might be doing something really good.
Yeah, I think we are.
You might be.
Well, we're working hard on it. But it's funny because 10 years ago, I wasn't sure if I would be making video games. I thought maybe I would need to make a statement with the real art and whatnot.
Yeah.
I was 30 and that. And with that thought process, Assassin's Creed came out. So I've got the mic. No, but it's true. And people, if big companies are willing to spend millions of dollars on 30 seconds at the Super Bowl just to reach somebody, and me, they spend 30 hours with my stuff. So I said, you need to be responsible of that somehow to have the mic. So say something important, and then what do I do with my own company? I just don't want.
You still get the mic.
I still got the mic, and then let's
It's funny
tell about our story. Why are we here? You know, and we're like mutants. But we have ancestors, and they're not that far away from us, and we're all like fighting each other somehow for something that is written 2,000 years ago. When our ancestors were there on this planet for millions of years,
Yeah.
the one coming to us around 120,000 years ago, and we're all alone here trying to survive.
Yeah.
And that's a bit my message. We survived by being friends with each other, not by beating each other.
What I find really interesting is of all the people I've talked to, several, you really are a screenwriter.
Yeah, deep down, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
really-
will not write a script these days. Now my medium is video games.
Yeah.
I love it. This is like I cannot remove the players or remove the player, that other thing, from my creative mindset these days. It's impossible. It will always be making. There will be someone missing in my creative, process.
When someone plays the new game,
Yeah.
goes through their full gameplay, goes through the whole thing, there must be a deep, deep understanding of all this information that you've culled and digested and put in there. Do you think that too few people in the video game world, too few come from literature and theater?
I feel like sometimes video game makers, they kind of just love video games and they're really into what's going to be really big next year or next quarter, and it's all about, oh, he's doing this, let's do it. And also just like, let's do like the other guys. It's working. Let's do another Candy Crush. Let's do another Uncharted. And this is not how I design at all. I'm a big gamer, by the way, but I play games that I don't make. Because otherwise I work.
Yeah.
Because I see the Matrix and I try to understand what they did and under the hood. So I play NHL and FIFA. Like I will never make those games, and that I know. But even with my team, sometimes I need to say no. Like, read.